Have you ever wondered why some people can take massive risks without hesitation, while others feel paralyzed by even the smallest decision? Why one person can quit a stable job, invest everything into an idea, and walk forward with confidence, while another overthinks every step and never moves at all? Is risk-taking an inborn talent reserved for a lucky few, or is it something that can be learned, trained, and mastered? Risk is not optional in life. Whether we want it or not, every meaningful decision carries uncertainty. The real question is not whether we will face risk, but how we face it. Is success driven by luck and chance, or is there a hidden system behind bold decision-making? And if we understand that system, can we learn to take the biggest decisions of our lives without fear? Today, we are stepping into a mindset that changes everything. A mindset revealed in the art of risk. This is not just a book. It is a mental framework that teaches us how to control fear, take calculated risks, and unlock extraordinary success. Risk-taking is not reserved for daredevils or thrill seekers. It is a skill that anyone can develop. Whether you want to grow in business, accelerate your career, or make bold decisions in your personal life, there is a massive difference between reckless risk and intelligent risk. And mastering that difference is what separates average lives from exceptional ones. At the core of every risk is the human brain. And once you understand how your brain reacts to uncertainty, fear, and reward, risk stops being something to avoid and starts becoming something you can control. Chapter 1. Your brain on risk. Why is it that some people can jump off a cliff, ride at extreme speeds, or invest millions into an uncertain business without blinking, while others hesitate at the smallest unknown? This difference is not random. It is not luck. It is biology. Risk-taking is driven by a deeply wired system inside the human brain. Every time you face a risky situation, your brain runs a rapid internal calculation. Is this dangerous? Is the reward worth it? Can I survive the failure? And based on that calculation, your body reacts. 3 systems control this process: the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, and the dopamine system. The amygdala is your brain's alarm. It detects danger and sends a warning signal. Stop, this could be unsafe. This is why your heart races when you stand at a height or consider a life-changing decision. But the story doesn't end there. The prefrontal cortex analyzes the situation logically. It compares past experiences, goals, and potential rewards. If logic overrides fear, it signals permission to move forward. Then comes dopamine, the chemical of motivation, reward, and thrill. When risk leads to success, dopamine reinforces that behavior. This is why some people crave risk while others avoid it. But here's the truth. These systems can be trained. Smart risk-takers are not fearless. They simply balance instinct, logic, and reward better than others. They do not ignore fear, and they do not blindly chase excitement. They understand how their brain works, and they use it. Chapter 2. The myth of fearlessness. We admire people who seem fearless. Skydivers, entrepreneurs, leaders. We assume they don't feel fear. That assumption is wrong. Fearlessness does not exist. Every human being experiences fear. The difference is not the absence of fear. It is fear management. Fear is a survival mechanism designed to protect us. But in the modern world, fear often reacts to social risk, financial risk, and emotional exposure the same way it once reacted to physical danger. Successful risk-takers feel fear just like everyone else. Their hands sweat, their heart races, their mind warns them to stop, but instead of obeying fear, they listen to it, They understand it. They use it as information, not as a command. Fear is not a stop sign. It is a signal that growth is nearby. The most dangerous mistake is waiting for fear to disappear. It never will. Growth begins the moment you move with fear, not without it. Fear does not mean you are weak. It means you are standing at the edge of expansion. Chapter 3. The Risk Ladder. Risk is not a single leap. It is a ladder. Every successful risk taker climbed it one step at a time. Confidence is built through small wins. When you take manageable risks and survive them, your brain recalibrates. What once felt terrifying begins to feel normal. Avoid risk repeatedly, and the opposite happens. Even small decisions begin to feel overwhelming. Think of a child learning to ride a bicycle. Balance comes from falling, adjusting, and trying again. Life works the same way. You don't become bold by imagining big risks. You become bold by practicing small ones. Speak up once, try once, fail once, learn once. Each step strengthens your tolerance for uncertainty. No one becomes extraordinary overnight. Every bold life is built on a foundation of small, courageous decisions repeated consistently. Training for risk. Risk-taking is not talent. It is training. Firefighters don't rush into flames blindly. Pilots don't fly without simulation. Elite performers reduce fear through preparation. The more familiar your brain becomes with uncertainty, the calmer it remains under pressure. Exposure is the key. If something scares you, controlled exposure rewires your brain. Simulation strengthens decision-making. Preparation converts chaos into clarity. When you train your mind before the moment arrives, fear loses its power. Smart risk takers do not gamble. They prepare, analyze, and act decisively. Risk becomes less about courage and more about competence. Chapter 5. The Power of Intuition. That quiet inner voice you feel before a big decision, that's not magic. That's intuition. It is pattern recognition built from experience. Your unconscious mind processes information faster than logic ever could. This is why experienced people make fast, accurate decisions. But intuition must be sharpened. Experience strengthens it. Reflection refines it. And logic keeps it grounded. Blind intuition leads to mistakes. Balanced intuition leads to mastery. The most powerful decision makers combine instinct with evidence. They feel the signal, then verify it. Chapter 6. The Risk-Taking Personality. Some people crave novelty. Others prefer stability. Dopamine sensitivity, past experiences, and psychology all shape your risk profile. But personality is not destiny. Awareness creates control. You don't need to change who you are. You need to understand how you operate. High-risk takers must learn restraint. Cautious thinkers must learn action. Mastery comes from balance, not extremes. Chapter 7. Calculated risk, reckless risk. There is a dangerous misconception about risk-taking that ruins more lives than fear ever could. Many people believe that taking risks means acting fast, acting bold, and acting without hesitation. They confuse courage with chaos. But the truth is this: the most successful risk-takers are not reckless. They are calculated. Reckless risk is driven by emotion, ego, impatience, and the desire for instant reward. Calculated risk is driven by clarity, preparation, and strategic thinking. Reckless risk says, "I hope this works." Calculated risk says, I understand what could go wrong, and I'm ready for it. Every major success story hides a silent discipline behind it. When an entrepreneur launches a company, it may look like a leap of faith from the outside, but behind the scenes, there is research, planning, scenario analysis, and contingency thinking. Calculated risk takers ask different questions. Not what if I fail, but if I fail, how much can I lose? And can I survive it? This single shift in thinking changes everything. Because once you define the downside, fear loses its mystery. Risk becomes measurable instead of terrifying. The brain responds very differently to known danger versus unknown danger. When uncertainty feels infinite, fear spikes. But when uncertainty is broken into possibilities, fear calms down. This is why smart risk takers always reduce uncertainty before acting. They test ideas on a small scale. They start before they feel fully ready, but never before they feel informed. They move fast, but not blindly. They take risks that allow learning, adjustment, and recovery. Reckless risk destroys confidence. Calculated risk builds it. Every time you take a smart risk and survive the outcome, whether you win or lose, your brain learns that uncertainty is manageable. Over time, this rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids risk and start seeing yourself as someone who can handle it. And once that identity forms, bold decisions no longer feel heroic. They feel natural. Another critical difference is time perspective. Reckless risk focuses on immediate thrill. Calculated risk focuses on long-term positioning. Short-term thinkers chase excitement. Long-term thinkers build leverage. This is why the loudest risk takers are rarely the most successful ones. The real masters move quietly, deliberately, and consistently. They understand that risk is not about gambling once. It's about staying in the game long enough to win. The most powerful lesson of this chapter is simple. Risk is not about bravery. It is about responsibility. Responsibility for your choices, your preparation, and your outcomes. When you take responsibility, risk stops being scary. It becomes a tool. And those who master this tool don't just change their results, they change their future. Chapter 8. Failure as Data. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in human life. Most people treat failure as a verdict, proof that they are not capable, not smart enough, not meant for success. But elite risk takers see failure very differently. To them, failure is not an identity. It is information. It is data. Every failed attempt contains feedback, and feedback is the raw material of mastery. When you understand this, fear begins to lose its grip, because failure no longer threatens who you are. It only informs what you do next. The human brain naturally avoids pain, and failure triggers emotional pain. But pain itself is not the problem. The meaning we attach to pain is, when failure is interpreted as personal defeat, it creates avoidance. When it is interpreted as feedback, it creates adaptation. This is why two people can experience the same setback and end up in completely different places. One quits, the other evolves. The difference is not talent, it is interpretation. Smart risk takers build systems that allow failure to happen in controlled doses. They don't risk everything on a single outcome. They create room to experiment, adjust, and improve. Every loss sharpens their intuition. Every mistake refines their strategy. Over time, failure stops being an enemy and becomes a teacher. And once failure becomes a teacher, progress accelerates. The moment you stop fearing failure, you start moving faster. You stop waiting for perfect certainty. You stop overthinking. You start acting, learning, and refining. This is how momentum is built, not by avoiding mistakes, but by using them. Chapter 9. Social risk and the fear of judgment. For most people, the greatest risk is not financial, physical, or professional. It is social. The fear of being judged, criticized, misunderstood, or rejected. This fear silently controls millions of lives. It stops people from speaking up, from starting something new, from becoming visible, and from fully expressing who they are. The irony is that social risk feels dangerous, but rarely causes real harm. Yet the brain treats it like a threat to survival. Human beings are wired for belonging. In ancient times, rejection from the group meant death. That wiring still exists. This is why public speaking feels terrifying. This is why sharing bold ideas feels risky. This is why stepping outside social norms feels uncomfortable. But progress has always belonged to those willing to tolerate temporary judgment for long-term freedom. Every meaningful achievement requires visibility, and visibility always invites criticism. The question is not whether you will be judged, it's whether judgment will control your decisions. High-level risk takers understand this deeply. They don't seek approval. They seek alignment. They know that being misunderstood by some people is the price of being impactful to others. The moment you stop trying to please everyone, your mental energy returns, your focus sharpens, your confidence stabilizes. And ironically, the more you accept the risk of judgment, the more respect you earn. Because authenticity is rare, and rare things carry value. Chapter 10. Identity and the risk taker you become. Every decision you make is not just a choice, it is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Identity is the invisible force behind all behavior. If you see yourself as someone who avoids risk, your brain will find reasons to stay safe. If you see yourself as someone who can handle uncertainty, your brain will look for solutions instead of excuses. This is why lasting change does not come from motivation alone. It comes from identity shift. The most powerful risk takers do not ask, "Can I do this?" They ask, "Who do I need to become to handle this?" This subtle shift changes everything. Because when identity evolves, behavior follows naturally. You stop forcing courage. You start embodying it. Identity is built through evidence. Every small risk you take and survive becomes proof. Every decision made despite fear strengthens the self-image of competence. Over time, uncertainty stops feeling threatening and starts feeling familiar. You don't become reckless. You become resilient. And resilience is the true foundation of bold living. Eventually, risk-taking becomes part of who you are, not something you do occasionally, but how you approach life. You trust yourself. You adapt faster. You recover stronger. And once you trust yourself, no external uncertainty can destabilize you. Final paragraph. Mastering the art. Risk will never promise safety, but neither will comfort. Every life that grows, expands, and matters is shaped by moments of uncertainty. The art of risk is not about chasing danger. It is about trusting your ability to navigate it. When you understand your brain, manage your fear, train your instincts, and build your identity, risk stops being an obstacle and becomes a doorway to growth, freedom, and self-respect. The future does not belong to the fearless. It belongs to the prepared. To those who are willing to step forward despite uncertainty, learn from failure, stand tall under judgment, and become stronger through every decision they make. Because in the end, the greatest reward of taking risks is not success. It is becoming the person capable of handling it.